our scene is in trouble. Apex Legends Esports has a problem with keeping orgs in algs. With the lack of funding to the league by AA and the lack of tournaments with big prize pools that sustain players because this is their job, most esport orgs have pulled out from Apex Legends, such as SSG, Cloud9, G2, Team Liquid, Invictus Gaming, and many others. Due to the lack of communication and funding that EA provides for these teams, in all honesty, this is a bad look for our scene. Even though we are just getting started, orgs have come out and said that the main reason for leaving our competitive scene is simply due to the lack of return on their investments in Apex Legends due to EA, compared to games such as League of Legends, Overwatch, Call of Duty, and Valorant. With the lack of revenue for these orgs, we have seen a lot of players left without a job, which is never good. EA has snaked multiple teams out of revenue shares recently when controversy came up for the org skins in Apex Legends. Initially, the skins would have been sold in game and each org would get a percentage of the sales and the skins would be there permanently. But EA went back on their word and decided they wanted to give them a flat rate, and most teams didn't agree with
whatsoever with the team logos on it, which is kind of sad to see because they could actually make some really fire skins. In fact, a game that lost a lot of popularity, Halo Infinite, does actually have esports skins designed for their teams, such as this one for the FaZe clan. Regardless if you like the team or not, it's still a pretty dope skin. It has the logo embroidered on them, and it's a great way to represent the team or whatever you're playing with, and it would be great to see Apex Legends do this, especially because we have so many great talented artists in the community, such as Rascal, who actually throws up recolors all the time and works with other organizations. This is one he did for TSM with a Seer recolor, and I would buy this in a heartbeat. It would easily be one of the best skins in the game. So why aren't we actually getting any skins, and are they actually going to ever happen? Well, it does look like there are talks to actually add in these kind of custom skins. Jake Lucky actually heard of some rumblings of an offer that was made by EA to esports teams to allow for Apex skins set to be released. However, there was a fundamental problem, as there was no rev share for the teams and players, and it was just an incredibly low flat rate, meaning the teams actually don't get a portion of the sales. They just get a certain amount of money for having their logos on the skins, and that's it. And Aberelli actually mentioned this and said, did anyone really expect EA of all companies to give players monies for skin sales? There was one crowdfunded tournament. EA hasn't done very much outside of that. And it's actually great that he mentions that, because this was back in, I believe, season 9 when we had the ALGS championship sale, which had the Wild Speed bundle, Bored to Death, and a ton of other skins they added in. However, you'll notice in these, once again, there isn't anything to represent the specific team. It just went with a Safari theme, and the crowdfunding itself was a little weak. What would happen is these skins were sold for $25, and for every pack that was bought, EA would only donate $5, and it was actually capped. So if they went over the certain prize pool, EA would just keep and collect the money and nothing would go to the pro players or teams. It's even more crazy when you look at the fact that Apex Legends has made EA over $2 billion, and it's one of EA's best franchises that they put out. This year in July, we also got a store sale that went in for the championship in North Carolina, and while we finally did get some of the logos on some of the cosmetics, it wasn't for any of the skins, as those were just resold skins that we've seen in the past in Apex before that were bundled in with a banner frame. This really shouldn't come as a shock because it is EA.
One team literally pulled up competitive scene simply because of this, and this team was Team Liquid, who even made a cinematic to promote the skins, which were weapon skins. I'll play the video now. and the representative from Team Liquid, and even the co-owner of SSG, came out and said the main reason why they stepped away from Apex Legends is solely due to the lack of revenue share. You have to remember that at the end of the day, esports is still a business, and if teams or orgs don't see a return on their investment, their investors will start to look to make cuts in different areas, and most times they cut their Apex team. A lack of funding and lack of fast payments by EA have left many players and orgs unhappy with the treatment of our pros by EA. And the funny thing is, EA has the money to properly fund our scene, because EA is about to lose the rights for FIFA and are willingly trying to drop 500 million on the exclusive rights for the Premier League for their new FIFA game or whatever they'll call it. Our scene is in trouble. We pull 1 million views when it comes to LAN championship time and over 500k when it's LAN playoffs. This is just on Twitch alone, and specifically just their main channel. They also stream matches on YouTube, which, not to mention Nicewig and Greek's B stream, pulls in an average of 50k viewers for matches on the B stage. That's when they're live. Our scene pulls views, and there is no other esports as interesting and intense as Apex Legends. And I'm sure there are multiple ways to use our viewership to leverage brands to come on board and sponsors on our scene so that we can do bigger and better things. Have more tournaments, have bigger prize pool, and provide proper revenue shares with teams competing in ALGS. But also when it comes down to it, players are one of the reasons why most orgs don't want to pick up an Apex team. Simply because the players aren't as market. They don't tweet, they don't make content outside of Twitch, and they just stream rank. Orgs do have the priority of building a brand for their players, but it can only go so far from their part. If the player doesn't want to do it, just won't come to anything. There are multiple pro players who barely have a brand for themselves or any online presence, and some players, as soon as they get signed, they stop trying to build their brand, which is awful. I have rarely ever seen Chen Burn upload to YouTube anymore or stream since he's been signed to Dark Zero. Same for Noct. I literally know Noct because of his YouTube videos that he used to upload. I never watched his streams until recently, but since he got signed to Optic, he stopped making YouTube videos. Don't get me wrong, he still streams almost every day, I think. But the point I'm trying to make is that even though there are barely any revenue shares in the Apex scene, orgs can still use your likeness to build their brand and also your brand. They can get deals because of you, just because of how much views you pull on YouTube and Twitch. Even Twitter, you can push ads to your followers and most will see it when you are tweeting it out. There are two sides to the story when it comes to teams pulling out of the Apex, and I mostly blame EA for this, though some players are still at fault because orgs just don't see how they would get on their investment in you when they can't get anything out of it. Take a look at the biggest streamers and content creators in Apex Legends. Most of them are assigned to tier 1 orgs. Some may have started out at literally nothing, but they built their brand up, and orgs want you to build yourself, but sometimes they are strict enough with your contract and you still think this isn't a job to sustain yourself. Look at teams like TSM, NRG, and 100 Thieves. They have some of the biggest creators in Apex Legends. The entire TSM roster makes content and build their own personal brand. Before Verhoes joined TSM, Bro barely uploaded to YouTube. Now Verhoes posts like 3 to 5 YouTube videos a week and streams almost 8 hours a day. The same goes with Reps and Hal. You have Nicewig, who literally got contracted with EA to be an official caster for the ALGS. And that brings more eyes to 100 Thieves. You have to build yourself so you can build their org so that they can become somewhat profitable.
Why is every big org leaving Apex and TSM still believes in it so much? Because I've been literally preaching to their faces about streaming and none of them stream, and they just listen. Apex is not profitable if you're just not like, you don't give either, unless you are like really good at the game, like you do really well like competitively, or you get good views, right? And majority of the competitors or pro players that were on big orgs did neither. They either like really, they weren't good and they didn't pull views, or they were good but didn't pull any views because they didn't bother streaming at all. Even though I've been saying a million times, hey, you gotta stream, blah 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 blah, and then a year later they're gone. Like, hello? Like Liquid's excuse was like they didn't believe in the like relationship with EA, is how they deal with like skins and shit, right? But like, what is every other team's or like org's excuse that are still saying in? Like, I bet if Liquid was like better on viewership numbers and stuff like that, I don't know exact numbers, but I feel like that whole situation would have went out differently with Liquid and their team. So let's say you're independent or individual streamer, right? Like, depending on your viewers, it depends on what sponsorships and stuff like that you can get, or like the number of it. It's the same thing with orgs. Like, you're not anymore really an individual, and you are employed under an organization, and they can use your numbers to help them get a bigger sponsorship. So like, let's say TSM is trying to negotiate with fucking BMW or something, right? And then like all of their employees, aka their streamers like me or whoever, they can negotiate for more because of the viewership. But like, if you're a fucking 0 viewer Andy, and I'm paying you fucking, or like 200 viewers, whatever it might be, and I'm paying you like a certain amount of money, like, you don't really give me anything when it comes to sponsors, like, at all. Like, people, like, orgs don't make their money back from people winning tournaments, right? Like, they just don't. They make their money from, like, sponsorships and shit. And, like, what you can provide through your stream.
But I am just concerned for our scene, because we are still a young scene and we are just getting started. I don't want it to fade out too quickly. Sure, there are a lot of aspiring pro players who see the situation and tweet from pro players and news channels on Twitter or YouTube and feel uneasy about the whole situation. EA needs to do better, and players need to actually start treating this like an actual job.